for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur.
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Stanley pour les Canadiens. Le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast on this Thursday, June 5th. Thanks for watching on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. The Sick Podcast is brought to you in part by Fruiterie de Lard. Fruiterie de Lard, a family-run business, a mainstay in the LaSalle community since 1995. Proud to continue offering the same fresh foods and flavors that they have for the past 30 years, from fresh fruits and produce delivered daily to an ever-expanding assortment of deli meats, cheeses, and sandwiches. You'll find personalized service and friendly faces that make you feel like family at Fruiterie de Lard. I go there at the very least once a week, always on Saturdays, and sometimes even more than that, of course. And of course, once again, I've been going there since 1995. And we talk about fresh fruits and produce. It doesn't get fresher than Fruiterie de Lard in Ville, LaSalle. One game into the Stanley Cup final, huge win by the Edmonton Oilers. I'm sure we'll be talking about it with our guest, Craig Button, in just a minute. Who's going to win game two? Go all the way with Betway. Get a free bet up to $200 if your first bet loses. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account. Redeem your welcome offer. Offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offer is not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. And please play responsibly. Without further ado, let's bring him in. He's usually a regular on Wednesdays, but last night couldn't join us because he was working game one of the Stanley Cup final between the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers. Craig Button of TSN, their hockey analyst, the director of scouting. How are you?
I'm good, Tony. Have a little sinusitis, so it's all good though. A clean bill, just a little bit of congestion up there.
I hear you. I hope you can get rid of that.
Yep.
What a hockey game last night, eh?
Yep.
What a hockey game.
Well, you know, we were talking before the show, and last year, McDavid, Draisaitl, they were given a new test, and they were looking to find the answers. And you know, they finish the series, they fall short in 7 games, and now they know what the test is. And it just feels like McDavid has the answers. Like he was just brilliant when it mattered the most in Game 1 versus Florida. The great play on the tying goal by Ekholm, and then just a great play to win the game. And it's those moments, you know, great players rise up in those moments. He scored the winning goal in the Four Nations face-off, but watching him play, and Florida does a heck of a job playing defense, but he recognizes how they're playing against him, and he adjusts and he adapts. And I see a more patient, yet just as determined player in the game. He's not forcing things, but when the moment comes, he's ready to attack. He's like a rattlesnake, ready to pounce and put the venom in you.
Speaking of great players who learned a thing or two last year, Leon Draisaitl, of course, read a stat last night that last year in the Stanley Cup final, and I didn't remember this until I read the stat last night, he didn't score a goal the entire Stanley Cup final. They went 7 games. He didn't score a goal in the 7 games. And last night he had 2. He had the first goal of the hockey game, and he had the last, which ended up being the game winner in overtime, of course, on the power play on a great feed by Corey Perry to Connor McDavid to Leon Draisaitl. And McDavid's pass saucered it over the stick of Barkov, who obviously is so great defensively. I also read another stat on Barkov in the past couple of years. Not too many players score 5-on-5 versus his line in the playoffs. And Barkov's going to be one of the subjects of discussion today, and we're going to tie it in with Nick Suzuki because this happened a couple of days ago, but Sasha Barkov was awarded the Frank J. Selke Trophy for the 3rd time in his career for the second consecutive year in a row. And he joins a real nice list, as you can see there. Guy Carbonneau won it 3 times, as did Datsuk, and as did Yuri Littinen. Bob Gainey won it 4 times, and Patrice Bergeron won it an incredible 6 times. Make it 3 for Barkov. His career's not over yet. He'll likely hit 4, and who knows if he'll give Bergeron a run for his money and try and tie him at 6. But, very deserving winner, in my opinion. I'd like to get your thoughts. And then, of course, we're going to tie it in. We're going to talk about Nick Suzuki, who finished 13th in voting. So let's start with Barkov, though, who won the award. I don't think anyone has a problem with it. If anyone has a knock on Barkov winning, maybe the only knock they have is, should he have won the award considering that he missed 15 games? So let's start with that. Your thoughts on winning the award when you played 67 of 82 games?
I think he's the standard bearer for defensive play by a forward in the National Hockey League. And 67 games is enough for me. Now, if it was 50 games, you might change your mind a little bit. But 67 is enough for me. He's superb. And, right now, when I say the standard bearer, I think that Sasha is the guy that everybody has to look up to, just like Patrice Bergeron was. There's some other players that were in contention, but Patrice Bergeron, he was the gold standard. And I see Barkov as the same at the same point, at the same level. And so I don't think it was a surprise that Sasha won the Selke Trophy, not one bit. I thought that he was deserving. I think he'll be deserving again next year, probably the year after, because that's just the way Sasha Barkov plays. And, you're always going to balance out what's enough games, what's not enough games. When Connor McDavid was in his rookie year, and he only played half the season, and he didn't win Rookie of the Year, and people go, well, points per game and everything. Well, yeah, points per game, but you didn't play. You only played half the season. That's going to work against you, and I think it worked against Connor.
Watched the game last night with my buddy Joe, his son Angelo, his family. They're big Florida Panthers fans. So we watched a lot of games together in these playoffs. As a matter of fact, we're gonna hop on a flight on the weekend and we're gonna make our way to Florida. We're gonna go watch Game 3, and I'm gonna bring my eldest son with me. So we'll have fun there. And Joe was saying to me, "Hey Tony, have you ever heard the players are mic'd up when they after a goal is scored, and after Barkov scores a goal and he goes to the bench and he gives everyone a high five, what they say to him?" And I said, no. And he said, well, they all say to him, best player in the world, best player in the world, best player in the world. And Joe was saying, Tony, for some, he's not the best player in the world. And the best player in the world is either Connor McDavid or Nathan McKinnon or whatever. And that's fine. But don't forget, at one point, Viktor Tikhonov called Bob Gainey the best hockey player in the world. And for some, the best hockey player in the world is the best offensive player in the world or the best point producing player in the world. But for others, the best player in the world is the guy who's just as great defensively as he is offensively. And I thought that was a great point. And I thought about it. And yeah, you know what? His teammates say to him every time he goes to the bench after a goal, best player in the world. He really is the entire package, right? It's really unbelievable. And you're right. He is the standard. But what I find a little bit odd, with all due respect to the Professional Hockey Writers Association, of course, who voted on the award, as you had a vote, right, Craig?
Yep.
Yeah. And I find a little odd, though, the amount of wingers who play with centermen, the amount of votes that they got. I'll give you an example, right? Reinhart got a ton of votes. Let's bring up the voting of the top 13. All right. The top 20 something here. All right, we got the top 20 or so. Okay. Reinhart finished second. He plays wing on Barkov's line. Hagel finished 9th. He plays wing on Cirelli's line, who finished 3rd. Mitch Marner finished 7th. He plays wing on Austin Matthews' line, who finished 14th. Alex Tuck finished 15th. He plays wing. And wingers can win this award, right? Yuri Littinen won it 3 times, and he was a great defensive forward. But should I find that Seth Jarvis finished 12th. He plays wing on Aho's line, who finished 20th. Is it a little bit odd that wingers got this much vote, this many votes, and they're almost as many votes as the centerman, or sometimes even more votes than the centerman on their line? I find it a little bit odd. No?
Yeah, like that. I mean, that's something that you recognize and you point out and understand. But you can be a good defensive player playing the wing. But your point about playing with a center that got a lot of votes. You got Reinhardt. He's one guy. Then you have, like you pointed out, Hagel with Cirelli, and Matthews got some votes, and Marner. I'm surprised. I had Nick number 2 on my Selke ballot. And,
Wow.
Everybody's ballot will be made public at some point in time, which I like. I like people being held to account. It's like Adam Lowry 10th shocks me. It shocks me. Because if you watch the Winnipeg Jets and you watch Adam Lowry, this guy's a superb defensive player. Superb. And it really shocks me that Mitch Marner could get more votes than Adam Lowry. Now, that being said, I think that Professional Hockey Writers Association, tries to get everybody that's involved and get it all encompassing. But the one thing I've learned, and I have learned this, Tony, is you cannot know the whole league if you're just in a certain area. And I think that's and I know Frank Saravelli is the president, and I should have a solution for it. And I don't have an ideal solution for it, but I think it's a real problem that you have people that know a lot about a little, and they don't know the depth and the breadth of the league. And I think that is reflected in the voting.
So, from the outside, and this is because obviously I'm not in the inside, I don't have a vote on this. It seems to me that maybe this was one of these awards where several writers took a deep dive into several metrics, and that's fine because metrics are a big part of the game. But for defensive forward, I think maybe the eye test would take precedence over metrics in this. I'm going to give you an example, okay? Maybe I'm completely wrong here. And I know some coaches hold Mitch Marner in high regard. I don't see him as this great defensive hockey player as a lot of people do. Now, I know that he began to play the penalty kill, and I know that he's a pretty good penalty killer. Is Mitch Marner a better defensive forward, play without the puck, than Nick Suzuki? I'm a little bit shocked by this, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I don't think so, and it's reflected in my voting. And I stand by it, and I believe that Nick's a superb two-way defensive player. There's a lot of metrics out there, Tony, and this is another problem. What metrics are you using? How do they gather their data? Are they using algorithms, or are they using actual data? Or do they actually collect every data point in the game? So again, people are trying to do everything they can to make their vote as thorough as possible, and I respect that. But you can't. If you're using metrics that collect, you got to know how they collect data. You got to know what they're looking at in terms of things. And quite frankly, the vast majority of public, if not all of the public data sites, are not complete. They're far from complete. Far from complete. So unless you have access to private data, Sportlogic, you're going to have a tough time. I shouldn't say you're going to have a tough time. That's all you have to rely upon. And that becomes another factor. So you're using one site, there's another site, there's this site. I mean, I don't know how many times I hear people in the course of time talk about, whatever the metric is from this data site, and then later on, but they're really good, and it's from this data site. So you're using it from a mix of data sites. Do people even know how they collect their data? A basic premise of statistics, Tony, and I have a background in statistics educationally, and a basic premise is, how is your data collected?
That's a real good point there. That's a lot of education there for sure. I'm going to give you another example. Let's bring up that list again. You'll find a couple of Toronto Maple Leafs here. You'll find Mitch Marner at 7, okay? And you'll find Austin Matthews at 14, right? Let's take a look at centerman. Austin Matthews at 14. I could be out to lunch here because you talked about people from a certain area. There's probably a bunch of writers who are based out of Toronto and either know these players like the back of their hand or is making their heart speak and not their head. Is Austin Matthews a better defensive forward than John Tavares? Is he?
Yeah, I think he is.
You think he is?
I think he is. I think he is. Yeah, I think he is. I think Austin's a really good two-way player. And, again, this is this year, right? Like I thought that Nick Suzuki had a fantastic season. Yeah. And I think, I really do think he had a fantastic season. But at the same time, there's other players that'll move up and have a good year. And I voted for Mitch Marner in my top 3 a couple years ago because I thought he was worthy. I thought he was that good. But, again, I thought Anze Kopitar had a really good season this year.
He did.
In terms of playing defensively again. But everybody's trying to do the best they can, but they're limited in terms of what they watch and what they see, and the data that they use is different. And like I said, how do you collect your data? And then I get it. You watch somebody more, you go, well, that's a good player. I'll vote for him. Yeah. I mean, what was the total number there with votes? 22? 21?
For who?
There was 21 here that got votes, right?
Well, no, there's more than that. So basically what I did was, if you notice on the chart that we're showing right now on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, you could see it. Barkov had 1,363 points. It went down to 837, 828, 477, 56, blah, blah. I ended it at 10 points, which was double-digit points. So everyone else that we don't see on this chart got single-digit points.
I had Robert Thomas in my top 5. I had Nick Suzuki and Robert Thomas in my top 5.
Robert Thomas is amazing. Absolutely.
He's a heck of a player.
Robert Thomas. Okay, so now I'm going to make a case for Nick Suzuki in just a second. Not that you need one because you had him in number 2, but I think it's something that a lot of people didn't take into consideration. But before I do that, 3 tasty reasons to visit the Rail at Playground. Mondays as of 4 p.m. Dive into 2 lobster tails, just $22. Served with rice, veggies, garlic butter, and a warm biscuit. Thursdays from 4 p.m. Sink your teeth into the Surf and Turf Special, an 8-ounce New York strip with shrimp fries and pepper sauce, only $19. Fridays from 11:30 to 4. Enjoy any burger, sandwich, pizza, or main for just $7. Certain conditions apply. All you need is a valid Playground player's card, and it's free. Deals this good are worth the trip at Playground. Also brought to you part by Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America. Driven to be different. They're a top fleet employer. And also brought to you in part by Bittt Tibi. They launched their new Ultra Lager, a refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for summer with only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can. Available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. Ultra light and ultra refreshing. All right. When I take a look at this chart, and we'll bring it back up again, okay? Barkov's there, and you won't see Sam Bennett, who's is number 2 centerman. McDavid is not there, but Leon Draisaitl, who's also a centerman, is there. Austin Matthews, who's there. You won't see John Tavares, but he's also a centerman. Phil Deneau and Anze Kopitar are both centermen. Jarvis is there, but Aho's a center. Robert Thomas, what am I getting at is that a lot of these teams, a lot of these players, like Adam Lowry's there, who's a centerman. Well, Scheifele plays on that team as well. A lot of them are insulated. A lot of them have support. I mean, Nick Suzuki had Kirby Dach for 57 games. He got injured, and then Alex Newhook took his spot. And I know that both of them tried their best. Really, I get it. But Suzuki had incredibly tough matchups, night in, night out. Didn't have maybe the support that some of these players do. Wasn't able to have the breathers that they probably do. I think he was not as insulated as the players on this list.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, that's going to happen. But what you're doing is again, you're trying to take different data, right? Like matchups. That's a really good point, Tony. Like, what were his matchups as opposed to other players' matchups, and how did they fare in those matchups? And that's a deep dive, and certainly that's going to be something you want to use. You want to try to bring to the forefront when you're casting your vote, and that's reality. But I don't when a player is out on the ice, you're not voting for a defensive player that's getting protected minutes. You just aren't. The defensive players you're voting for are going to have hard minutes for the most part. You're right. Like, Winnipeg's a better team. Edmonton's a better team. So they're going to have more. Florida's a better team. So they're going to have a better opportunity, like to not. I guess what I would say is to have a choice, like who you want to go up against somebody. The Montreal Canadiens don't. They only have one guy, and every game is going to be the hardest matchup for Nick Suzuki.
Anyway, if it's pretty cool to hear that you had him at number 2 on your voting, Craig. And once again, the voting is open for everyone to see. So we're going to find out who voted for who in just a little bit. And like you said, it'll hold everyone to account, which I think is a great way of going about it. I think he's got the potential to be in the top 5 category for years to come going forward. He's scratching the surface. Still, some of his best years are in front of him, and I look forward to seeing that. I also look forward to seeing the Laval Rocket going forward, and they made it to the Final Four this year of the AHL playoffs. And Craig, Pascal Vincent and the players had a chance to speak with members of the media earlier today. It was the postmortem. Once again, swept by the Charlotte Checkers. But if I would have told you back in September, and I would have told you or any member of the Montreal Canadiens organization that Laval was going to make it to the Final Four, I think everyone would have signed off, huh?
No question about it, because it's such an important exercise in development for the players to go through it. And development and winning are not mutually exclusive. You can develop and win at the same time. What's interesting, and we'll get into this a little in a few minutes, but I don't think Charlotte has any prospects, quite frankly, like what I would call like surefire prospects, where Montreal has lots of prospects and certainly some surefire ones. So it's very interesting that you get up and people look at it and go, oh, we lost 4-0. Yeah. Well, Charlotte's an older team, an experienced team, But if you go look at their roster, there's not a lot. There's not prospects there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. I watched the series and I watched games live, and Justin Sordif maybe is a guy that'll play in the National Hockey League at one point, maybe. But you're right. I mean, their top point getter is a player who was drafted in the 6th round back in 2018, which is John Leonard, and he's going on 27 years of age. There's not a lot of prospects there. You're right. There's not. It's a very veteran team. It's a heavy team. It's a big team. It's a strong team. Pascal Vincent said that there's no doubt if his team wants to go further going forward, they need to gain what is called men's strength. He said that they lost a lot of physical battles, still some young players growing into their bodies, and their bodies need to be fully developed. They need to get bigger, and they need to get stronger. And by the way, speaking of Pascal Vincent, we're going to get to a couple of Laval Rocket players in just a second, Craig. But there's been a lot of talk about his future over the last couple of days because Marco Normandin of Absolument Fan wrote on his social media and on his blog and on his website that according to his sources, Pascal Vincent is going to move on to the National Hockey League again as an assistant coach, but he didn't give any teams. Pascal Vincent was asked about that earlier today. Pascal, are you going anywhere? Yes or no? Listen to his answer.
I'm a head coach. Like, I've figured that out. And it's not, I'm a good assistant coach too. That's number one. Having said that, it would depend on the organization, where they're at, who I'm working with. Am I going to learn? Am I going to be excited to go to the rink every day? I've done it in the NHL, and working with Paul Maurice was like going to school every day. Like there's no school for coaches, but I've learned so much from him, and you see somewhat the results of that today in my coaching. I've learned a lot, but I'm my own person too. But if I feel there's an opportunity where I'm gonna keep growing as a coach, enjoy my time there, and it's the right fit, there's not many jobs, and it's so hard to get to where we're at today here in the American League. I'll tell you something, when I hired Marty Johnson in Winnipeg, he's now with the Jets as assistant coach, and we were going through the resumes. We made a file. We've made a list of the things we were looking for as a coach, and so we made that job available. I've received over 40 resumes of former NHL head coaches, assistant coaches in the NHL, American League former head coaches, European. We had a lot of great resumes, and eventually Marty was the one that fit exactly what we were looking for. It's hard. There's a lot of coaches, not many jobs, and so when it happens and you have an opportunity, you have to think about it. Now, to leave this organization, it's going to take an offer I can't refuse, and I don't know if it's going to happen, but right now I'm here.
Now, there's a lot there to chew on, Craig, but I thought it was beautiful listening to him talk about Paul Maurice and how much he learned from him. Eh? He was mentored. He went to the right school.
Well, that's what you want, and I think Pascal talked about it. And was very eloquent in describing it. How you learn and being excited about going to the rink. When you go to work, and I don't care what you're doing at work, you want to be excited, number one, about going to work. You want to be excited when you are at work, and you want to be excited when you leave work about being excited to go back to work the next day. Those are environments that Pascal was talking about. And trust me, and Pascal will tell you too, not all environments are like that. Not all environments are like that. And so when Pascal talks about I've been to the NHL, I've been there, a lot would be dependent on who, what, where, what it means. Because I think that what experience teaches you is that the NHL is a great league, but not all the organizations are great. And there's some organizations that are far from great. Do you want to be in that situation?
Doesn't sound like he's going anywhere, right? He says he starts it off by saying, I'm a head coach. I figured that out a long time ago. It sounds like he's saying, I'm not going back to the National Hockey League as an assistant coach unless it's a great opportunity and it becomes apparent that I really am the next one in line, and that won't take very long time. Right? Because he starts that off. I'm a head coach. I figured that out a long time ago. I'm a good assistant coach too, but I'm a head coach. And it would take something to knock my socks off to leave. So for those who are wondering whether he's going to stay or whether he's going to go, I don't expect him to tell everyone that he's going to go, but it kind of sounds like he's going to stay. Does it not?
I can't speak for Pascal, but I think Pascal, I guess what I would say, he probably feels very strongly about having good reasons to stay, and it's going to take something really significant for him to go.
Yeah. And I'm wondering because, coaches like to be in an environment, or they like to be in a place where they say, okay, you know what? I might not have to wait very long before I get my next spot. But obviously, if he's waiting for it to be with the Montreal Canadiens, I think Marty St. Louis is pretty good there, right? But it's not because he's with the Rocket that his next step has to be the Canadiens, right?
No. And Pascal talked about, there's lots of good coaches. There's only so many jobs. He also recognizes that.
All right. Speaking of the Laval Rocket, there was one clip which I thought was something. It really caught my attention. he was asked about Joshua Roy and Logan Mailloux, whose seasons were kind of up and down, and when they were at their best, they looked like National Hockey League players, and when they weren't, they didn't. And he said, you know what, I really have to give these guys a lot of credit because they didn't arrive here thinking that they were going to start the year with the Laval Rocket. They both thought that they were going to start the year with the Montreal Canadiens. They didn't think they were going to end the year with the Laval Rocket. They both thought they were going to end the year with the Montreal Canadiens. And he said, you know what? They were professional through and through from start to finish. And he says, you know what? A lot of respect goes out to them, and they deserve a lot of credit. And he says, maybe it's the locker room that we have here. Maybe it's the leadership that we have here. But they bought in. And so in that regard, so much respect. So my questions to you is, what are your takes coming out of this regular season and out of these playoffs for the Laval Rocket, and whether or not some of these players can make the jump next season?
Well, I mean, Joshua Roy, Logan Mailloux, David Reinbacher, three players that I think Oliver Kapanen, who came back from Sweden and played for the Canadiens in the playoffs, and then found time down in the American Hockey League. Those four players, I don't want to leave Owen Beck out, but they're on different timelines. The biggest thing, and going back to Joshua and Logan, I don't think there's any question they have the talent. To play in the NHL, it's essential that you have the capability to be dependable, to be reliable, and to do it every single shift. That's what players have to learn. That's what players have to learn. It's not about giving it to me 2 out of 3 shifts or 3 out of 5 shifts. Coaches want dependability. Coaches demand reliability. And the biggest thing these players have to learn is consistency. And if those players can learn those things and get those elements into play, and they'll be in the NHL. If they don't, they're going to fluctuate. There's going to be hope. Well, maybe they can't. They might have to leave. They might have to go to another organization. The players I just all mentioned were all Montreal Canadiens draft picks. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes their timeline doesn't intersect with the team's timeline. So you have to move forward. But it's not going to change going to another organization. If you do not find those, if you cannot exhibit those attributes, those qualities every single day, you're not going to be a regular NHLer. Simple as that.
And we talked about 5 of them. They can't all make the jump at the same time. Like I know at the end of the year-end presser, they said, Gordon and Hughes said that, you know what, we're going to try and find the right blend between young players and veteran players. At the same time, we're not going to have a veteran player stall a young player's entrance into the National Hockey League. But this team made the playoffs this past season. The Montreal Canadiens did. If a lot of people want to add a lot of players right away from the American Hockey League into the NHL team out of camp, because of that lack of experience, they'll take a step back. Like, you can't have it both ways. You can't say, I'd like to have 3, 4, 5 players make the jump at the same time and not suffer any setbacks. It's probably not realistic, Craig.
No, I don't think it's realistic at all. And again, it's when I say, a player's timeline may not be intersecting with the team's timeline. I've said this for years. Every player a team drafts, all the good prospects the Montreal Canadiens have, they're not all going to play for the Montreal Canadiens. That's a reality. They're not all going to play for the Montreal Canadiens. They might have to go elsewhere. Some of them are going to have to go elsewhere to have NHL careers. And that's just because, as you mentioned, first of all, okay, who's going to come up and who are you going to supplant? Who are you going to take out of the lineup? And so NHL players, this is, I say this to young players all the time. Do you think the guy that's been in the NHL for years is ready to give up his job because he sees a young player?
No.
You think, hey, come on over here. Yeah, take my job. That's why they got to learn that. That's part of the maturation process. I also wanted to mention that Florian Jacki, he's showing that he's hungry to come and play for the Montreal Canadiens. It'll be interesting to see his development in a year's time. There's 6 guys.
Strong kid, but Pascal Vincent talked about him at the year-end presser and like talking about that man strength 2 or 3 years in the gym to fill out and whatever.
Yep.
He's one of those guys that has to get it. So to think that he can make the jump to the Montreal Canadiens right away, if you're going to be willing to live with the fact that he's going to be learning and he's going to take his bumps, okay. But if you're supposed to dominate at the American Hockey League level and be 100% ready before you get called up.
Yep.
From
100%. There's no other way. You got to, if you haven't mastered the level before you, below you, what are you going to do? You think you're going to master the highest level?
So in ending this conversation, if there's one player who spent time with the Rocket this season that has the best chance to make the Canadiens at a camp next year, even though the camp hasn't played itself out, and we'll see it, and that'll probably be a determining factor. But if you had to put $1 right now on Betway on one player from the Laval Rocket to make the Montreal Canadiens team next year at a camp, it'll be who?
David Reinbacher.
Wow. Drafted 5th overall. I can understand that. Look, I
think he played well. He went down. He played well down there for Laval. He had a setback, obviously, at the beginning of training camp. That's the guy. I think everybody else is in a state of development still. I think David, you asked me for one guy. David's the guy.
He's ready for prime time for you.
Yep.
You don't worry about obviously not the amount of hockey that he's missed over the last little while.
Are you trying to break me down from my answer? Feels like you're trying to. Feels like I'm being interrogated here.
Not at all.
And that's all good, though. And I say that with tongue in cheek. It's all fun.
I know that. I'll say this, and
watching him play down there, he looks like he's ready for the next level. And keep in mind, he played in the NLA in Switzerland. He played the World Championships. I think he's ready.
I'll say this, Craig, and I said this last week. I heard a lot about Mailloux, and you know what? I know that Mailloux can shoot the puck through a brick wall, and Reinbacher's got a good shot too, by the way. And I know that Mailloux has real good offensive instincts. I have friends who are season ticket holders. Laval Rocket told me Tony Mailloux should be in the NHL. Mailloux should be in the NHL. Maybe they're right. I'm going to tell you this: the 3-4 times I watched both players play live, Reinbacher impressed me a lot more. He impressed me a lot more by holding his position, by not taking himself out of position, by using his stick, by seeing the ice the way he did, by anticipating plays, by thinking the game. NHL reads, I think he has an easier time making them than Mailloux. I wish them both the very best in their career, but I think Mailloux's ahead. And the one guy that I say, I'm not telling you he's going to make the Canadiens out of camp, keep an eye on Adam Engstrom. That guy's going to be an NHLer one day. Keep an eye on Adam Engstrom. He really impressed me too.
I'm not gonna dispute that. Like I think that very well could be the case. But the other thing too is, Daryl Sutter talked about young defensemen. He said the game is fast. If you take a step in the wrong direction, that means you have 2 steps to make up to get in the right position. He goes, in the NHL, 2 steps is too much. So you talk about Reinbacher, the reads and the steps. See, Mailloux at the younger levels, and this is what he's got to learn. Do I think he can learn it? Yeah, I think he can learn it. But this idea that your skating is gonna make up for your mistakes and your bad reads, not happening.
Thank you so much, Craig Budd. Enjoy the Stanley Cup final.
Thanks.
And special thanks to all of our sponsors: Energy Transportation Group, Playground, Bittt DB, Fruiterie Delard, and Betway. And special thanks to all of you for watching. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple. It's our way of feeling the love. For Sammy Cavallaro at Master Control, it's a Sick Podcast. I'm Marinaro.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. LaVie.tv, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.